Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Kính thưa quý thầy, quý sư cô, toàn thể quý bạn đồng tham. Và giờ này là buổi chiều ngày thứ Bảy, 18 tháng 11 năm 2023. Chúng ta tiếp tục những cái buổi cuối tuần chia sẻ kinh nghiệm tu tập, giải đáp vấn đề thắc mắc công phu với đề tài là củng cố niềm tin từ tâm. Cái sự tham học, cái công phu, thời khóa, vân vân, thì cùng nhau tham học, cùng nhau tu tập với nhau, mục đích cũng để củng cố niềm tin từ tâm, cũng duy trì được cái nghi tình. Tại sao lại phải củng cố niềm tin từ tâm? Chúng ta cũng biết ngành giả tham thiền rất là dễ bị lọt vào cái ngã chấp, chạy theo cái vô minh. Mình không biết.
Dear Monastic Sangha and all our Zen practitioners, so welcome to our Saturday Dharma talk and Q&A. So in this talk, we are basically going to go over how to maintain our trust in the mind and how we recognize all the knowledge that we gained from the teachings, and we're not able to let go. And for this, we attach to the teachings and not really trust in our own mind, and we run on the self-attachment and the prime ignorance, and we go against all the true teaching or the practice. So we still go with the worldly energy. So when somebody say something against our own ideas or our own philosophy, and we would get very angry, get very confrontation, and therefore we're not able to continue with the practice because we don't have any trust in the mind. And there are many obstacles in the practice, and it could come from the wars and the economy, all the difficult in lives. And beside that, we have our own problems within our own mind. So therefore, we need to go to study under teachers and ask questions about your practice. So therefore, we would like to talk about how to sustain our trust in the mind and truly trust in our own self nature. And also, that is a reminder everyone about the practice. And right now, if you have any questions, please raise your hands. Or you want to share your experience, you can do so. Namo Sakya Muni Buddha.
Mời Kim Yến.
Miss Kim Yến, go ahead.
Dạ, Nam mô Bổn sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Con kính thưa quý thầy quý sư.
Namo Sakyamuni Buddha, dear theists, dear monks and nuns, and all Zen practitioners. Can you say more? Can you say more about the practice? And our practices always go along with our own karmic energy. So, in order for us to overcome this problem, is very difficult. So for us to just ask the question and maintain that is already hard. So why do we to experience this difficult even though we already listen to your teaching and we also practice along with you day and night, and also the teaching not only from you but from the patriarch and the Buddha, and we keep continue talking about this all the time, and it's still somehow delayed in our practice, and we're not much making the progress. And this is something that I myself and maybe everyone else have the same wondering, how can we make the progress in the practice, and somehow in our life we probably have a lot of obstacles. How can use the practice along with all these difficulties, and how we can correct our own practice. So can you say some more encouraging words for us? Thank you. So all the saying, maybe from me or from patriarch, it's basically come from their teaching. And they always want us to trust in our own mind and really, truly, sincerely always have the consideration about resolving the birth and death. And we need to be very careful in our practice, because if you just make a tiny mistake, it's going to lead you to the lower realms and or the hell realms, or very negative effects, when you practice the wrong way. And because nowadays practitioners, they don't really take this practice seriously. And most of us, we practice with something that we want to gain, something that we want to hold on to, and something that we always fear. So therefore, we need to continue to return and trust in our own mind. Because when you trust in your own mind, then you have your own ability to practice. So therefore, we need to go back and return to ask the question and maintain the doubt. And sometimes we don't really believe in ourselves correctly. We believe in something else. We believe in the fame, the form, the names. We just use the worldly knowledge, our intellectual understanding to grasp something that's not real, and it's mistaking the finger for the moon. So some practitioners, or maybe most practitioners, follow the teaching of the Buddha, and they want to gain something from his teaching. And that is not right.
Càng nhắc nhở, càng set up.
In the absolute path, there should not be anything that we should gain. So the only the words of the Buddhas basically help us, remind us to trust in our own mind, but not something that we're gonna gain or hold on to. So when we come to the Zendo, we listen to the words of the Buddha, the patriarch, through the teachers. So it's going to help us to correct our path, our practice. So when we come to the Zendo, we get a lot of reminders. And the reminders, probably they're going to help us to basically even trust in our own mind more, or digest a lot more from the intellectual understanding. So even when we listen to this all the time, like Zen Master Lai Kwa, he said that it's just so boring. It's like saying Huatou day and night all the time. And when we experience this kind of boredom, that is something we need to overcome, because that's all the teaching in the Zendo. It's about asking a question and maintain the doubt. There's nothing else. So when we truly believe in this process, then you're gonna take it into the practice, and then you're gonna see how this precious teaching is, so that you're not gonna fall into the duality. So even when people, they don't know that they get stuck, but when they sit in the Zendo or listen to the Zoom and the explanations, maybe they accidentally untied all the, or let go all the things that they have been attached to. So this is the practice of incubation, like the chicken need to incubate the eggs. So the eggs, maybe hatch, fully hatch. But if the chicken just keep moving all the time, then it cannot incubate, the eggs, and it's not going to hatch. So same thing with our practice. We continue to create this energy of doubt. And this energy of doubts eventually is going to lead us to the awakening. So just like gardener or farmers, they cannot just cultivate the land by just throw it all out, right? They need to know how to till the land and put the seeds in proper place, and watering and doing all the maintenance for the seed to grow. So right now we have more energy of ignorance than the energy of awakening. So therefore we need to recognize that. And right now we cannot use any kind of tool to cut off this ignorance. No way you're gonna finish it, because it's gonna grow something else. So the only way is to go to the head of the Huatou, and it's gonna solve everything. So again, you need to continue to go to the studies with the teachers and practice. I hope that makes sense to you. So Mr. Huang Cảnh is next.
Unmute đi. Tắt cái tay rồi. Rồi, nghe rồi đó.
Dạ, con kính thưa quý thầy, sư cô và quý vị hành giả trong đạo tràng.
dear Thich, dear
đề tài kỳ này đó
Zen
là công phu
practitioners,
và tính từ tâm đó, thì
according to your topic today,
thì con xin trình
the
bày
practice
cái
and the trust in the mind, I would like to
là
present
trong
my
cái
practice
thời gian gần đây đó là con
in
cái
this
vận động
present
nhiều. Trong
current.
cái thời gian mà tu
Recently,
cùng
my
với
practice,
giả trong
because I have
thiền,
been very busy.
nó có vắng đi, không có đều đặn.
Not a lot of Zen practitioners come to my the Zendo that I go to.
Nó kéo mình đi thật sự.
And maybe that drained the energy of practice. And I can see that my self-attachment, I can see the mistakes of other people. And I judge them. And I judge a lot of people, and it's present in my mind. And when I talk to my family's members, and my anger arises when they say something opposite with me. So I can recognize that my practice is not, it is very shallow, it's not deep enough. So I still get a lot of afflictions arise, when I confront with the real situation with families, members, and friends. And if I don't practice, my worries and all the things, it's gonna go drag me on and on, and it's on the verge of right and wrong all the time.
Trong quá trình đó con thấy nó đúng là trong hoàn cảnh cuộc sống hàng ngày đó rất là khó để cho mình giữ được cái làm sao
and
cái giữ công phu.
This is really difficult for me in the daily life when come to deal with life and the practice. And when things, that I confront with, and then it's dragged me on for so long until I remember that I need to return to the practice. So that's what I want to share with you, so you can explain more. Thank you. So, like Mr. Huang Kanchit shared the problem in his life. So basically, this is not just his own issues, but it's very common. This is nothing new, right? So when we encounter with issues in life, and it could be all different things, negative things happens. All this all these distinctions, arise. So, and all the situation happens, you is you, and that person is that person. You cannot change the role. Your wife is your wife, and you is you, and you cannot change the role. So when you change that, that's your egos, attached to it. And when you have that, let go of that attachment, then it's not gonna create any kind of it's not gonna generate a lot of negative effects, such as anger, and fighting, words fight, mouth fighting, and so when you encounter with all these negative things in your life, and you just remember, return to the practice, then it's gonna pass by, and you're gonna override all that, who's right and who's wrong all the time. So it's because our self-attachment and our own ignorance, our own ego create all this problem. So just return to the practice, and then it's gonna ease the problem.
thì nó cũng thành cái gì? Bồ Tát hạnh á.
Because if you arise, with your anger, with your ego against the other person, and that person, he doesn't or she doesn't practice, and he's gonna, rise his own ego, his own big ignorance, and you two go at each other, and you're gonna create the hell right there. So you need to recognize that and return to the practice, because in our daily life, everyone has their own capability, that's their own potential. Sometimes we expect them too much, and this expectation comes from our own speculation. You expect them to be, like you, have the higher capability to do such things, and if they're not able to do it, and then you're gonna create a lot of bad response to that person. So everything is as they are, if you understand from the teaching. So the sun is the sun. The sun has its own function. The birds have their own functions. The tall man or the tall person has his own function. The short person have his or her own function. So that each one of us have our own function in this life. So when you practice, you're able to retrieve your ego out of it, let go of your self-attachment and ego. So then you're not gonna go strongly with your distinctions, and if you don't, it's gonna create a lot of problems, a lot of conflicts and problems that it's gonna drag on, and it's gonna break your relationship. So the resolution is mainly come from your practice, and then you need to come to learn how to accept things, because if you don't, then you're not gonna solve it, because it's gonna create more problems. So all the problems you need to create, they arise from all the issues come from our own attachment. And when we're able to create the energy of the doubt, you need to ask the question continuously, and it's going to be self driven. This energy is basically going to driven out all that self-attachment, the ego, the primal ignorance, and
trong xã hội, trong gia đình nó xấu, nó quá, nó xảy ra giống như tiền của mất, trộm rồi cắp hết, rồi nợ nần chồng chéo kéo lên, quá trời hỗn loạn, quá sợ hãi, lo lắng đi. Mình cứ có công phu rồi á, tất cả cái sợ hãi, những cái lo lắng đó.
And when you practice deeply, then it's gonna give you the strong attitude when you experience any kind of problems in life. You're not gonna experience a lot of fear. When even people, they run into problem with their financial issues, and they don't really, if they have the practice, they don't really worry too much about it, and they can continue to make they can renew, and they can move on with life. And I hope that makes sense to you. Yes, thank you.
Rồi, mời Kim Hoàng.
Dạ. Dạ, Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật.
Ms. Kim Hong, please go ahead. Dear Thầy, dear monks and nuns and all Zen practitioners.
Cũng chia sẻ với con thì
Recently, I have a few friends practice together with us, and we've been invite them to come to our Zoom meetings, practice, and listen to your teaching and explanations, and ask them to ask you question themselves, but they say that they will practice more, and then they will know how to ask. So I just want to ask you to explain more when we have a new practitioners and they practice on their own karmic habits. Should they correct the practice right now, or they're gonna slowly correct it along, when they practice, when they have the practice strongly, or the practice is gonna correct themselves. And when we practice this, should they correct now, or should they correct the practice later? So can you explain more? Thank you. So I have a story, maybe help to answer this questions.
Với lại cái Hòa thượng Ấn Thuận Đại sư.
So this is the story
Phật giáo rất là giỏi.
About
Coi như là tất cả những cái tư tưởng
the Zen master Ấn Thuận.
Thái Hư Đại sư là người mà chấn
hưng
Pháp Phật giáo Trung Quốc á, giống như
and
chấn hưng Phật giáo Việt Nam á, nhưng mà Thái Hư Đại sư phải một bậc
the Zen master Thái Hư.
Bộ sách Thái Hư Đại sư là Ấn Thuận á, là người đứng ra để mà đúc
And in this modern time, I think in the 20th century, late 19th century and early 20th century. So Zen master Ấn Thuận basically helped to editing his book, and
cơ bản nhất Thầy Đại sư đấy, ông nắm được
and Zen master Ấn Hoàng
nghiên cứu cái đó, nắm
asked the Zen master Thái Hư, so the teachings of the Buddha are so vast, so which teaching should I focus on first?
Ấn Thuận đó bắt đầu mới bước vào Phật pháp, mới học Phật pháp, chứ trước đó là
And
Khổng lão Nho giáo đồ á,
and
thứ đệ nó có
the
cái này
Thái Hư Zen master say that you should focus on what in front of you, and you can focus on the certain teaching that may help you. So from there, Zen master Ấn Thuận, he start to practice the way that he wanted. So it's just like an example of the time of the Buddha, when somebody asked about the Dharma, but only asked something out there, not relate to the suffering of his own. So the Buddha gives an example that when someone gets shot with the poison arrow, should that person get cured first, pull out the poison arrow and heal the wound before you're gonna ask more questions? But right now, if you ask the question, where's the arrow coming from, who shot the arrow, what kind of poison the arrow used, and so on, by the time you get all the answer, you're already dead. So So right now, if you ask like this, then you need to remember this story, because when you practice and ask a question, and then if you have problem, and then you need to correct it right away. And you should not listen and then listen without contemplate or understand it. And then you're gonna fall into the wrong path, and that's gonna create a huge problem later on. So in our daily life, we can experience different difficulties with our family members, with our friends, with our co-workers, wife and husband. We always have some kind of obstacles. And it's just like in the life of a layman, people, they're gonna make fun, or they're gonna make you angry, and then next day they try to make fun to make peace with you, and then next time they try to make you angry, and then try to make peace with you. So if this circle, it go around and around, that's we call the crazy world. And so when we have a true practitioner, true learner, they're gonna come and practice, and they're gonna ask the question, even though the question is not very smart. That's okay. You can ask whatever that's gonna help you to correct your practice. So that is the true practitioners, and someone that really believe in the Buddha Dharma, or really practice the three jewels. So that's how you're able to learn and return to your self nature. So did you understand?
Con xin cảm ơn thầy. Con sẽ
Yeah.
đưa cái bài pháp này cho các bạn.
Yeah, thank you, Thầy. I will pass on to my friends. Yes, Suko heard it. Dear Thais, monastic sanghas, and thousand practitioners. Recently, my practice is I have tried to practice, and the doubts arise, and then it's gone, and I cannot get the doubt again. So in this practice, we mainly focus on the practice and maintain the doubt, and we gonna take the doubt seriously. We should not attach to the whatever the mind manifests in our doubt. So the doubt, the true doubt, what is the doubt? The doubt is something that you want to know and you cannot know. And anything that beside this answer, then we fall onto the dualistic thinking. So the doubt is no distinction. When you ask the question and raise the doubt, and sometimes you're able to get some doubt, and sometimes you cannot get any doubt at all. Sometimes you get weak doubt. So when you have this mind known that you have doubt, then that's the mind of a theft, like Zen Master Chung Fong Minbom say that. So you need to return, ask a question like, before heaven and earth came into existence, what was I? And ask again, and continue, ask the question clearly, word by word.
chứ không phải trên cái đọc từng chữ.
So
Mà trên cái mình
when I
giải
said
nó
that,
chậm
that
chậm
means
lại.
you need to
Nếu mà
ask the
cái
question,
là sai
ask
lầm.
each
Mà
word
cái chân thật
question,
hỏi
but not
là
reciting.
tham á, phải tham
You're not
cái
going to
hỏi
recite
đó,
the word, but you're going to ask
là
the
chiếu
question.
cố đó.
So that's a
Thì
completely
hỏi nó
different.
đúng cái nghĩa của tham thiền á, đề thoại đầu khởi nghi
So
tịnh để
when
trì,
you ask,
đề
then it's
chậm
gonna
rãi rõ ràng.
then it's gonna have the
Đấy, hay là
doubt.
đọc chậm rãi rõ ràng.
But
Đề chậm rãi
if
rõ
you
ràng.
just read or recite
Cái
slowly,
hỏi giống như là
that is
hỏi
not asking.
chính mình, chứ không có khác
So
ấy.
when you ask the
Thì
Huatou,
suy
you
nghĩ
ask yourself.
mà xưa nay á, lâu ngày rồi mà mình vẫn
So
không có thông
the
được cái
reason,
này. Tại do
a long
công phu
time
của mình không
practitioner
có
not able to gain
chịu chỉnh
the
mật
doubt,
nữa, mà để
because
cho
that
cái
practitioner
thói quen quá lâu rồi.
not come to
Nên là
ask the
khi mà
question
bị
and
sợ hãi,
correct
gặp cái gì
the practice,
cuống cuồng
because
quá
they
thì
uh,
mình lấy cái câu
and
hỏi
they
mình
it become the habits.
Phật hiệu mình đề nén ức chế.
So it's
Đến khi
just
nó
like
sanh ra
use the
nghiệp mình á,
Huatou
bệnh
question
tâm lý
as
nữa.
something you
Mình
suppress
đề nén
other
ức chế bởi cái tâm lý sinh lý á,
emotions.
thành ra nó sanh ra bệnh.
So it creates a
Nhiều khi nó sanh
psychological
ra
problem,
cái phiền não,
and
sanh
it's
ra đủ thứ
create all the
do
afflictions
cái ứng dụng công phu không đúng
because of your wrong
ban đầu á.
application in the practice.
Còn bây giờ á, mà
And
thiệt ra
because
hết muộn á,
when
nếu
you
mà
experience that,
cần
because
sửa lại cái công phu
from
của
the
mình,
beginning
thực sự đây mình
you
sửa lại
didn't
công phu
ask
của
the
mình rồi
question,
mà mình
you
thực
didn't
hành
ask
đúng
for
với cái tâm
correction,
chỉ
so that's why
tin tự
you're gonna
tâm
fall
đề
into
theo
that.
công phu á. Tất cả
So
lần trước nó quét, không phải bệnh trước ở trong cái thân này đời này mà luôn cả nhiều đời trước kia nữa nó cũng
so
quét.
when you
Tại
practice
cái
this and you're gonna get
chấp ngã
doubt,
bày đặt của mình
and
á,
the doubt is gonna sweep
nó cũng
all
dẫn
the
dần á, cuối cùng cái thời đầu
past
là nó phá tan.
karmic
Cuối
energy,
cùng nó phá tan.
not only in this life but many lives ago.
Bây giờ trở lại, bây giờ
So that's about a doubt.
sắp tấn chúng ta.
And Zen Master Chung
Như
Phong
thế nào cũng thấy rõ ràng, không có làm cái
wants
khác,
us to
không có
practice,
tìm cách
ask the
khác.
question,
Như là Ngài La Hòa
and
nói,
just ask the
nghi
question,
tịnh
but
cũng
don't
tham như
try
vậy.
to find another way
Không có nghi tịnh cũng tham như vậy.
to do it.
Ý
So
tưởng
if
mạnh cũng
you
tham
have
như vậy.
doubt,
Phải lúc đó
you
mình lại
just
hấp
ask
mình làm ra mình
the
sợ,
same thing.
mình siêng,
If you
siêng
have,
này kia,
if you
cái niệm sợ
if you don't have
chính cái niệm
doubt,
sợ đó
just
là
ask the
lập
same
niệm
thing.
ngã chấp rồi.
So
Chính cái niệm sợ đó là biệt niệm rồi.
so when
Thì
any
niệm đó nó sanh
moment
ra
that you have
ngã.
the
Để ra
fear
2, để ra 3,
arise,
để ra 4
then
niệm,
you're gonna
10.000 niệm.
it's gonna create
Để
other
phải
problems.
trở về lại
So
đề tiếp cái phần đầu của mình.
therefore you need to
Đây
return
là
to the
khi
practice.
chưa
Ask the
có
question,
trời đất.
such as
Là
before heaven and earth
trời đất
came into existence,
là cái gì?
what was I?
Như đứng nằm ngồi làm việc á,
And
đều
whatever
dụng công phu hết.
posture you're in,
Thậm chí đi tắm
laying down, standing, sitting down, walking, or even when you go to restroom, you can ask this question. And all the imaginary image in your head is gonna disappear. So did I answer your question?
Này, có câu hỏi ha.
There's a question
Con kính thưa thầy,
on the chat.
như trong tham thiền phổ thuyết có dạy
There's a
là
question
mình phải
about
chân thật tham cứu.
when in the
Thì
practice,
trong thiền có phần đắc lực.
we need to
Con cũng
ask
muốn
question,
hỏi câu
research
thầy cho là thầy
about the
không
practice.
bị những vọng tưởng tập khí chen vào.
Then your practice is gonna go in a right way. And my own practice,
Chân thật tham cứu á,
when I ask the question
nói
clearly,
để ý á,
but the discursive thought is still sneak in. So can you explain more for me? Thank you. So when you read, the words of the teaching, and then you forgot the practice. So
tin tự tâm rồi á, tin tự tâm rồi thì đề thoại đầu dần tự nhiên nó thành đắc lực. Hoặc là hiện tại á, thì hiện tại bây giờ
eventually it's gonna create strong energy
do cái
of
sở
doubt.
cầu á, nó vẫn còn mạnh á, mong muốn được
And maybe because as the beginners, maybe we experience this something that we want to gain, something that we want to get rid of, and that is, you know, because come from our self attachment. And when you practice like this, it's not the right guideline in the Huatou practice. So in the practice is non-dual, non-distinction, non-discrimination. And this is come from the teaching of the Prajna Heart Sutra. So the Heart Sutra teaches us that if you sow the seed of Prajna, you should get the Prajna energy. So you should trust in that process. So when you trust in the mind, then that is that's the seed of Prajna. And the reason our karmic energy is there because it's so vast in our mind, and we cannot get rid of it. So we don't have to do anything like, you know, get rid of it. We just need to return to the practice. We don't want to gain something or lose something. So when your practice is continuously, it's gonna help you to see that so when you practice Huatou, then, you know, it's gonna help us to practice the other technique as well, like stop thinking, and then your mind is also get to the point that in going to the quietness, non-responsiveness of state of mind. So that is also create a self-attachment. So the asking a question is basically those issues, you know, they release themselves, and eventually you're gonna get used to the practice, and the self-attachment is gonna become loosened up by itself. And right now we're not familiar with the practice because it's new to us. But eventually when you get used to it, and then you're gonna, the practice become your friend. The effort you're gonna practice is called a paramita effort. So I would like to invite Siko Hadak. Please go ahead and ask a question. Namo Sakya Muni Buddha. Dite, I would like to ask you this question about when lay practitioner, when they go to the temple and practice chanting and do some charity works, so how can they practice so they can change their karma? How they gonna help themselves in the practice correctly? In fact, nowadays most our lay practitioners love to practice, but they don't practice correctly. They love to go to the temple, do the chanting, listen to the Dharma talk, and actually they are practice the skillful mean of the prajna, but not true prajna practice. So when you recite the text or recite a sutra, it's not really truly practiced. Not even get to the second state. When you read this text, you need to contemplate the text and then you practice. But right now, most of lay practitioners, they just recite the words and they don't really contemplate. They don't carry out the text, the teaching into the practice. So right now we need to truly practice. And when you truly practice, you're able to see how you able to let go your own self-attachment. And the ancient, patriarch, they say that, people practice, but they don't really understand. They don't really understand the intention of the Buddha. So just like people they listen to the prajna, the heart sutra, only 263, but not a lot of people totally understand the heart sutra. So just recite the sutra, but they don't practice the sutra. So, but the prajnas, the heart sutra is help us to let go of the two mode, the duality. So it's only when you practice only, asking for the blessing, and they love to practice the donations so they can gain some. When you practice the four guards or guidelines, to use the right words to speak to someone, patience, and
tụng kinh thì tụng mà tâm vẫn tham sân si đề vậy, vẫn ngã chấp bằng cái núi tu di vậy đó.
And if they don't let go of the self-attachment, and it's going to create a mountain of attachment. And when you have this ego attachment, for reciting just the sutra, and we think we already get a lot of merits. And some people, they have this ego, the lay people, they say they only take refuge in the Buddha and the Dharma, but not the Sangha. And that is the big ego that they try to, they pretend that they are already good practitioners. So people, they practice a lot, but they're not able to digest the words of the teaching of the Buddha. So when we practice the Huatou like this is the true prajna. So when you don't understand what is true prajna practice, then you need to come and ask and listen to the Dharma talk, ask questions, and listen to your friends ask questions so you understand the whole thing. So from the foundational practice, people can go to the temple and start, recite the sutras, but eventually they need to go up to the next level. So when friends, invite you to attend, a meditation retreat, then you need to try it out, because otherwise you just, gonna delay your progress. You're not gonna move up, but you just stay in one place and just recite the sutra and not really practice anything else. So therefore, all practitioners need to help themselves, to motivate themselves to move up to the next level in the practice, so they're able to recognize their own nature, and they can distinguish the wrong and the right. So did it make sense? Yes. Probably not a lot of people, they got good guidance. and they just go to the temple and beg in for blessing. And maybe this is a good thing that they listen and they able to realize that their practice is not going anywhere all these times. So all the temples in recent decades, and not a lot of people practice correctly. They only practice with the belief system, but not able to practice to trust in their own Buddha nature and practice, move on to the next level. So there you can guide them with your practice in Vietnam. Would you like to ask anything else?
Dạ thưa thầy, cô này á, tôi có một cô Phật tử cũng rất là muốn tham thiền.
And dear Thầy, I have this lay person who love to practice Huatou. So can you explain the basic practice, the basic steps for her to try out? So our practice is very basics, and I hope you have the guide booklet over there. So in that book, there are 5 questions. You need to choose one question that you're not able to understand, not able to answer the question. And so when you ask a question, that's when you really ask yourself. So you need to choose one question, and whichever create the most doubt, which create the most don't know mind. So such as before heaven and earth came into existence, what was I? So before the heaven and earth were created, and you weren't here, so what was you? So you don't know, and you keep asking, and you keep going at it, So when you don't know, naturally, that is called doubt. So that's the first question. And the second question is, before your parents were born, what is your original face? So your parents weren't born. So what was your original face? And how can you know? You don't know, right? So that's how you're gonna keep asking the question. And the third question is, where was I coming from, and when I die, where would I go? So this is about you. Many lives you've been born and dead, and where you gonna go after you pass away. And so just maintain the doubt. And the fourth question is not the mind, not the Buddha, not the things. What is it? So like people, they learn a lot of Buddhist texts, and they try to figure out all the mind, the materials, the Buddha. So now the question is not the mind, not the Buddha, not the things. What is it? So the last one is all return to one, and where does one return to? So this is layman Pan Wen uses Huatou question.
Cái này tổ Việt Nam mình đó chứ. Liễu quán, ngày liễu quán. Thì đó là 5 câu và là câu hỏi đầu.
Oh, this is Vietnamese Zen master.
Để câu hỏi này nghi tình ngày hư vân.
Quán he uses Huatou question.
Nghi tình mới là đi đó. Giống như người đau chân.
So the Huatou question is like a cane. So you're gonna use a cane when you're not able to walk. So the cane is used to help you to walk. So right now you don't have doubt yet. So therefore you're going to use the Huatou as a cane to create a doubt. So you're able to keep going. So all Otherwise, your mind is going to create all these worldly thoughts from your own self-attachment and ignorance. So asking the question is not go above all the worldly love and hate. And all that is going to self-disappear. So that's what we call the prasna. So this is not a tool. It's not a skillful means, practice. But this is come from the self elimination, self let go. So this is come from the great doubt. So how do you practice? So you choose one question and then silently, you're not gonna recite like you recite the Buddha name, Amitofo, Amitofo, but you're gonna ask the question clearly and slowly, like something that you really have. You don't know what is it. You keep going at it, and you keep asking to find out, but you cannot find out. So just like one question, the first question, before heaven and earth came into existence, what was I? Before heaven and earth came into existence, what was I? So in your daily life, when you in your life, daily life, you're gonna go to temple or you do the cooking. You can ask the question. So before you go to the temple, you're gonna asking for the blessing from the Buddha, the Bodhisattvas. Now you're gonna change that. You're gonna ask the question. Even when you go to the temple, you're gonna ask the Huatou question. So when even when your colleagues practice ask you to chant, so you just chant. But after you finish chanting, you're gonna return and ask a question. So you still need to take refuge in the Sangha, to the Buddha. So you still need to support the Sangha, do the same thing. But and people, when they need to go to work, they need to go to work. They have to go to work. And when they're done with their work, they're gonna ask the question. So otherwise, you're gonna meet a lot of friends, and they're gonna have a lot of gossips. So even when gossip friends come, you're gonna just ask a question silently, and they don't even know. Just keep it. You need to keep it quiet, and don't let them know that you are asking a question. So ask the question and create a doubt. So in this practice, maybe it's easy said than done, right? When we encounter with things in our life, and then we're gonna run after it. So with happiness or sadness, we're gonna run after them all the time. So because of this self-attachment, our own primal ignorance, they have been with us for so long, so many lives. And now we just acknowledge that. We just return to the practice and ask a question, create a doubt. Even, you don't have doubt, that's okay. Just ask a question. And so don't worry about, when the good news, it's going to come, or the bad news is going to come, or you're going to experience the happy moment or sad moment. It doesn't matter anymore. You just keep asking the question continuously. So this is like the Huatou medicine. You need to continue to take, the medicine all the time in order to cure your own sickness. So just use one of the 5 questions in the book, and then you're gonna ask the question. The question has no answer, so don't try to answer anything. You keep ask the question when you hit the don't know and ask the question. When you hit the don't know, ask the question.
Tất cả cái đó đều là cái ngọn. Tham thiền đi đến cái gốc
So
mới phá được cái gốc.
when you practice this Huatou, you're gonna directly go into the root. So now is a good time for you to practice. So read the text and practice. So we are running out of time. Thank you everyone for your time and practice. Namo Sakyamuni Buddha.